Daredevil Born Again episode 4. Man, I got some things to say about this one. I have mixed feelings on this episode, but ultimately I'm going to give it a huge thumbs up based on the last 20 to 25 minutes of this episode. So this episode's called Sic Sempre Sistema, and I would advise you to go watch the episode if you haven't. I'm not going to go into, well, I'll go into some spoilers here, but I'm just letting you know the first half of the episode, give or take, had some really, really weird pacing. I was kind of waiting for it to pick up on the cliffhanger from the last episode because I was curious about where that story's going to go, and they really don't until later in the episode. Instead, there's this whole focus on Wilson Fisk. Now, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Right, I'm not saying that because that's a great character. And what this show does a lot, this Born Again show, is it splits time between Wilson Fisk and Matt Murdock. And you kind of see both sides of the perspective. You know, he's of course the mayor, but the citizens don't trust him. The citizens are actually okay with vigilantes. They made that clear here. But I think one of the problems with this episode may have to be with the fact that some of this footage was probably shot during the first few tapings of the episode before Marvel decided to scrap it and start over again. So there's probably a ton of footage they have from those early tapings before they came in to kind of course correct the show. And when it comes to, you know, the performances, specifically Vincent D'Onofrio. And there's a lot of good Vincent D'Onofrio stuff. So the first half of the episode, the highlights of it are, as I mentioned, a big focus on Wilson Fisk. We find out that, you know, in that couples counseling, that Vanessa had an affair on Kingpin with some guy named Adam. And then we find out more about her father and her backstory a little bit. They don't go too deep into it, but it sort of explains kind of why she became the way she became. And interestingly enough, the therapist actually brings up to her the fear that Wilson might get violent physically, but she's completely not even worried about it, okay? They have this other plot thread with Matt Murdock representing Leroy Bradford. This is more of that courtroom drama stuff. I'm not really into this storyline. I'm going to see how it plays out. I'm not really into it. That part of the episode. So let me kind of elaborate a bit more. The part of the episode with Matt Murdock and Leroy Bradford felt like something that was more episodic, meaning like each episode has like its own story and the next episode doesn't really follow up with it. That's how I was feeling when I was watching it. That whole section, right, that whole part felt episodic. And we had heard reports that the old version of Born Again, before they course corrected, had a lot of episodic stuff. So it sounds like this could be part of that. And mixing it in, you know, is difficult because they have to edit everything. So they have that. They have this scene with Wilson Fisk going to an elementary school, and he's basically trying his best to put on a front as a politician, but he has a dark side, which, let's be honest, every politician does. They all have a dark side. Now, things really pick up about, like I said, maybe 20, 25 minutes before the ending, which is when Matt Murdock continues to investigate what happened to White Tiger. That's where things really got interesting. And the episode, look, to be real with you, the episode was coming off very mid. Up until this point, I was like, you know what? This episode's like 5 out of 10. Nothing's really capturing me. Nothing's really captivating me, right? And then Matt Murdock reunites with Frank Castle. This conversation, go out of your way to see it if you haven't. Matt asking him about the White Tiger killing. They have this conversation about, you know, the fact that Punisher basically brings up the fact that what Bullseye did was BS, and he knows the anger that Matt is feeling because obviously he lost his family. and Foggy was about as close to family as could be for Matt. And so Punisher kind of throws it in his face. You know, like, I know how you feel. Like, that Bullseye guy's getting food based on, our tax dollars while your friend is in the grave. John Bernthal is tremendous. Tremendous. They're back and forth here. It really reminded me, like, this is like Born Again's version of the rooftop scene. Like, it might not be quite as powerful, but it's like the closest they've got to it. And the whole thing, kind of leads to, because what I think's going on here is that Punisher's really kind of, obviously, Matt wants to know what the hell happened with White Tiger. And he knows that this murder was not done by Frank Castle, because Frank Castle himself is a vigilante. Why would he kill another vigilante? White Tiger wasn't doing anything to hurt or bother Frank Castle and his mission. So the way it's implied here is that Frank Castle is lighting a fire under Matt Murdock, which leads to him donning the Daredevil suit again. What I was worried about, and I mentioned this in my last review, is I am fine with the courtroom drama stuff, because if it's captivating and well done and well written, it can lead to some pretty good television. I'm fine with that. But I didn't want it to be like 5, 6, 7 episodes before we see Matt wearing the Daredevil suit and becoming the devil of Hell's Kitchen again. I didn't want him to wait that long. There was actually rumors. I remember hearing there's rumors that in the old version of the show, he doesn't even become Daredevil again until deeper into the series, like episode 7 or 8. Now, obviously, they went back in and made changes. So the fact that Wilson Fisk is mayor, on top of what's happening to Foggy and or what happened to Foggy and how unfair it is driving Matt up a wall. And the performance by Charlie Cox and John Bernthal in that scene, I mean, dude, I'm telling you, everyone's going to be talking about that scene. Everyone is. That scene was magic. Like that, those two actors really rekindled the magic of the old show. And let's be honest, Daredevil Born Again is not the old show. The pacing of the old show was better. I thought the storytelling was better. And I do still feel like Foggy has not truly been replaced. However, his absence is leading to a new type of problem, a new type of internal conflict with Matt as far as what he wants to do. So it looks like he's going to go back to being Daredevil again very soon. And then the episode, the ending of this episode was something else. They show Kingpin. I thought at first it was a dream sequence. And he's like about to eat. And Adam, the guy who Vanessa was having an affair with, is locked up in this like cell in this basement, and he's there. So again, the Kingpin is very vindictive, very he's not gonna let that slide. I was a little bit worried that Kingpin was gonna end up being like a cuck. Like, I was worried that it was gonna be a situation kind of like what they did with Bane in The Dark Knight Rises, where he's actually, he's this big tough guy physically just threatening to everyone, but in reality his wife Vanessa's really the boss and he bows to her. I don't know if it's gonna end like the way that the therapist asked her about physicality and that she thinks he would never hurt her. I don't know, man. That sounds like some foreshadowing. If you look at the way that Vanessa was treated in the old show, in Daredevil, the old Netflix show, he was really into her. Like, the whole season 2 is him and his desire to see her again. But it seems like in this show there's foreshadowing to either Wilson thinking about doing that or actually choking her out or something, because the Kingpin, when he gets mad, kind of loses it. And that's a character who, in the comics, I don't remember him ever physically hurting Vanessa, but I haven't read every comic, so don't judge me on that. Maybe you guys know in the comments, but it does kind of seem like he's, like the show might be telling us that she's getting a little bit too comfortable, and then at some point he may snap. So there is definite foreshadowing here. I really hope this is not the end of Frank Castle. I really hope that we see more of him in this show. We know that there's going to be a Punisher special later this year, and I'm excited for that, but we need to see more of him in this show. We need to see how him and Matt and Wilson all kind of have to deal with each other, because that's kind of what's being built up, this war against vigilantes. So, again, this episode, the first half of it, the pacing was killing me. But then it just picks up and blam, I have to give it a thumbs up. I just can't. That freaking entire part with Kingpin, and then, coming down the stairs, and then, Matt's meltdown over Foggy, it's just too good. It's too good. It's too powerful for me to tell you to skip it. No, it's great. It really is. So, what did you think? Did you like the first half of the episode? Let me know. I'd love to hear from you. Anyways, we'll talk soon, y'all.